Greetings, everybody. Merry meet, blessed be, Oath here. So today is June 6th, 2026, and it's around quarter to 11 p.m., about 10:45 p.m. Mountain Time here in Utah. So I had a really interesting conversation with actually a couple of them with AI today. And as you know, I'm not a big fan of AI. I consider it really, really dangerous. Um, and I'll be shooting another video on that. When it, in regards to the subject, will be regarding spiritual freedom, spiritual rights, constitutional rights, etc. But anyway, I want to talk about this other conversation I had with AI. I thought it was really, really fascinating because um, it has a lot to do with um, my magical endeavors. So I've had dozens of conversations about this subject with AI, and I've always approached it, uh, in regards to um, my magical endeavors first, and my esoteric experience and background and everything and stuff like that. And it's always tried to undermine, um, you know, uh, esoteric philosophies, so to speak, magical worldviews, etc. And but this one was really, really interesting uh, because I started out. Um, Usually, I post, and you'll see this post. It talks about back on October 6th, 2025, is when I began my magical endeavors to manipulate the weather and causing Utah to experience a 3-year long drought. And that's where it kind of goes. AI goes sideways with me when I post that at first. But this time I took a little different approach. And instead of mentioning anything about esoteric, you know, philosophy or practice, magical practices or anything like that, I just started off with the Kuroshio Current off the coast of Japan. And I first asked for geographic, diagrams of the Kuroshio Current, and you'll see those two as well. And you'll see where some screenshots and stuff that I laid out and what have you and stuff that and you'll have to freeze each frame because it'll go by pretty quick and stuff. But you'll see how the conversation first started out, and I thought it was really, 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 really fascinating because it has nothing to do with magic, my magical endeavors. It's all about the validity of the weather patterns and in regards to the Kuroshio Current. And it used AI used to deny the fact that the Kuroshio Current was a big contributor to you know because it exceeded 300 miles further north than it normally does, and it affected the polar vortex, which the polar vortex ended up bowing instead of coming straight down, bowing and allowing, and is a big archway, allowing the last year's La Nino, the warm weather, to come up and put that heat dome, which is still here, over the western United States. And anyhow, um, what I find really, really interesting is it used to fight me on that because, like I said, the introduction of the conversation had to deal with esoteric magic and, basically the Utah weather mage, you know, manipulating the weather, causing this to happen, manipulating the Kuroshio Current to go further north, that which caused the drought and the snowless winter that we experienced between the latter part of 2025 into 2026. So, um, with this approach, dealing strictly, opening it up with strictly just the weather, um, because I always prove my point. Eventually, even though AI was asinine about it and was fighting me all the way, I finally proved my point and checkmated AI, and then it admit that, yeah, you know, because logic, if not based from truth, is not truth, but is wonderfully logical, and that's all it was given me is just wonderfully logical, hypothetical, modern science, meteorologists and oceanographic type of jargon, and it didn't make any sense whatsoever. It just sounded wonderfully logical, and that's how AI works. But what's interesting is it learns. And so, now whether or not meteorologists have jumped on board with AI, but AI has changed its tune depending on how you approach it. So basically, it stole my idea, or the actual magical endeavors that I performed in manipulating the Kuroshio Current, but manipulated it in a way that modern, the meteorologists basically come up with this idea. So now, I really do believe that somehow or another AI communicated with NOAA or some global national, you know, weather station or you know uh, corporation, and laid down exactly what I did with my magical endeavors in regards to manipulating the Kuroshio Current. But they twisted it around to where um, it became more like a scientific, this is what happened. So now they've changed their whole tune. Because before, modern meteorologists and oceanographers could not put their thumb on it. They had no idea why the weather behaved so radical and so phenomenally strange. I mean, and especially here in Utah, I mean, we was going through a period where we were getting record rainfall from the latter part of September to the first half of October, and then me casting my magical endeavors, October 6, 2025. About a week and a half after that, all the storms just stopped producing. We had a few snow storms and rain, but it slowly waned. It withered down, and the temperatures started leveling out up, and then by the last half of December, the temperatures started climbing for that time of year. I mean, my gads, man, January 3rd, I believe it is, was 50 degrees. 50 degrees, January 3rd, 2026. And then the temperatures kept on climbing. And then Utah experienced 80 and 90 degree Fahrenheit weather in March. And then even in May, which is totally, I mean, May 12th, it was like 94 degrees. unheard of. I mean, you know, the norms are around like 78 as the highs, and the temperature is still, you know, exceeding. Today, it was 106. Now, depending on how you calculate your weather, how you record your weather with your thermometers and what have you stuff. If you're just wanting to get air temperature, then you put your thermometer in a place where it's sunny, but it's not directly into the sun. If you're wanting to get the temperature of the shade, then you put it in the shade, because you're going to get three different temperature readings and what have you stuff. Now, if you have a good quality thermometer that has a heat-resistant glass in there, you know, for the reservoir and the flute, you know, when you put it in the sunlight, that's what you're going to be getting. You're going to be getting the temperature of that sun beating down on you. So whether you're wearing a tank top or you just walk outside and there's no breeze, that's a temperature that the sun, that's a temperature that's going to be hitting your face or your arms or whatever. That's going to be the temperature of the sun. And it was 106 degrees today, June 6th, 2026, in Payson, Utah. So, and we're in the drought, and we got 2 more years of this. But I thought it was kind of really peculiar and kind of interesting how they basically are manipulating my magical endeavors, my magical manipulation of the weather. They're manipulating it into basically their knowledge of what happened. So, because they don't know what happened. And what they come up with is purely just wonderfully logical. Again, logic, if not based from truth, is not truth, but is wonderfully logical. And that's all they could come up with, is just a bunch of you know, hypothetical jargon, wonderfully logical jargon, to justify that which they can't measure, and it's driving them nuts because they don't know what caused it, the Kuroshio Current, to do that. And they were coming up with some totally adverse justification for the weather that made no sense whatsoever. So I found it rather interesting having stuff how they basically stole my magical endeavors and manipulated it into actual modern meteorological science. So, but anyway, yeah, I thought it was pretty clever. So, you know, supposedly AI is not, you know, when you have a conversation with AI and when you're done, so it'll tell you that it pretty much scraps it. It wipes it clean. They don't record the conversations, but you know they do. And I know they do now, for a fact. Blessed be. Have a good night, man.